Hello and welcome to this new video in the Mayastar7 features. Today we're going to talk about the shape stuff and bind pose stuff. So the first thing is let's take a look at the how a bound mesh is actually constructed. So if we go to the attribute editor, we will see that we have the transform node, the shape node, and another additional shape node called shape orig. So this is what makes a deformer work, basically. This shape node is invisible and it's called an intermediate object. So if we go in and take a look at here at the object display, you will see that this is marked as an intermediate object. This other shape here is not an intermediate object. What it means is that the deformer calculates the actual deformation basing off the distance that the weights or other deformers are moving the mesh away from this original shape. That's why it's shape original. So if I turn this off and select it, you will see that this is a mesh without any material that is not actually deforming. This works as a mesh. Um, this works as a reference mesh to calculate the distances another mesh has to move to follow the deformer. Okay, and that is also why, as you can see, it does not deform. And this is also why there are those additional numbers we have seen in the previous videos. Those are additional distance per vertex that the deformer is going to calculate over the distance from the original vertex in the shape orig node. Alright, so this needs to be there, otherwise the thing does not work. Okay, so the deformer is not gonna work at all without that. And that is something that should be in the object only once. So here comes the Detached Skin tool. The default Detached Skin is called Unbind Skin. Comes with three different options: bake history, keep history, and delete history. Keep history keeps the skin cluster and the shape orig node, so that when you make a change in the skeleton and then smooth bind again, it's going to not assign a new weighting. It's going to keep your weights so you can start from where you left it off. Bake history means that it's going to apply the deformations to the mesh, but the delete history is what should be deleting the history and bringing the object back to how it was at the beginning before the deformation ever happened. So if I do that, you'll see that it's no longer skinned, right? But there still is this one here. And this is bad because the shape orig is not only working as a reference mesh for the deformation to actually happen, it also is a way to have a backup in case that the deformations that you applied are not satisfactory enough and you want to go back to something, to what it was before. Okay, but in our case that we want to revert back to how it was before. This one here that stays there is not something that we want to have, because as soon as you do a new smooth bind, there will be a new shape orig object, and that can go against other tools here not only making the skinned mesh less efficient, but also going to interfere with other tools like the Edit Skinned Geo. So we don't have to, we don't want to have this one as soon as we do a detached skin. So if we want to detach skin, do not use this one here. Okay, use this one here, which will give you the options in a dialog, in a confirmation dialog. So we have with history, delete history, I called it no history, make deformer, or just cancel. So if I choose the no history, what it's going to do is to do the detach, the unbind, exactly like the other tool from native Maya, but it's also going to get rid of the shape origin node so that you once again have a clean mesh to work with, which is way better, because if you're doing the delete history, the shape origin most likely is not going to be something you're interested in. Just in case, if you want to keep the shape origin as a backup and restore that so that you get the original shape back, just use the regular skin, delete and everything, unbind skin and everything. But in this case, it's just going to clean it up so your mesh stays efficient and nicely organized in its shape nodes. So I'm going to Control Z. So it's now back. Okay. Cool. Now, in this specific case, I started from a bento avatar, but then I ran a tool from my animate full, which removed all of the non-human bento joints. So the additional spine joints, the wings, the hind legs and the tail and everything. And now when I want to pose this avatar here, and I want to do a go to bind pose, it's not gonna happen because the bind pose is referencing something that is no longer there, the joints that I removed. So we can read something about it here. Warning panel side, no, this is something else. Going to bind pose, skipped pose on M chest, blah blah blah, parent when pose we saved, blah 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 blah. Translated for you in an easier thing is it is Maya is basically saying, dude, you have other joints in the skin, in the skin definition, in the skeleton definition. The bind pose refers to those, but I can't find them anymore, so I can go back to the original bind pose. That could be bad if we didn't have another tool. So we go back to 0 like this, and then we look for the bind pose, and at the default outliner nothing shows up. We need to do DAG objects only off, bind pose, delete it, grab our skeleton from the M pelvis, and save bind pose. There you go. Now if we do this, okay, we need to select it. All right, now it's no longer finding it. Now there are 3. Something bad happened. Thanks, Maya. So let's do a bind pose again. So I'm going to select the object, save bind pose. Cool. Make a pose. Go to bind pose. And now it goes back to bind pose. I probably missed the right thing, and I created more than one bind pose, which is what is going to confuse the thing. So yeah, go to bind pose works. So now it works because it has actually a bind pose. Earlier it didn't work because I changed I removed the spine joints and the other joints that were part of the previous bind pose, and I saved it over there. And now go to bind pose works again. All right. Now after we have done our skinning, another thing that is really important to do when we're about to export something for Second Life is the remove unused influences. Okay, so if we do that, it now has removed, it just prints it out here, removed 103 unused influences on Awesome Top. Okay, so now this is nicely optimized. It still has the exact same deformations that it had before, but it's no longer referencing the unused influences, those that were um, in the skin cluster, like the fingers, but they are not actually used by the deformation. Okay, so that's it for this video. I thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye.